we might have to... Yep. Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to the last session of this incredible day. My name's Nicola Roxon. I'm a member of the MCRI board and absolutely delighted to have been here with all of you today. I did just say to Catherine that this might be the new approach that's needed for all new directors, to come and do this for the day as an induction. It's just an incredible way to hear about the amazing work that you're all doing. So can I say firstly thank you to all of you, to the leaders who are here on the stage, but to all of you who do the incredible work that you've galloped through today. It's really, I think, given all of us a snapshot of just the breadth and depth of what the Institute does. And so I've been invited to MC this session, I think, to do two different things. One, to give you a little bit of a perspective from the board, if you like, as a director of the board that governs the Institute. A little bit of a reflection from my previous life as the Health Minister. I did notice how young a lot of the staff are, so it was many years ago. I was the Health Minister in the Rudd and Gillard governments, and I think the reason I've been asked to reflect a little bit from that perspective is just, I guess, to give you some insights from someone who's been on the receiving ends of presentations and pitches from research institutes and incredible researchers. And then just an opportunity to ask the leaders here on the stage to give us their really highest level takeout message that they want you as the amazing staff that make up the Institute to think about. And I have really challenged them a little bit to think about what their escalator pitch would be if they happen to be, you know, going up a flight here of these very long escalators, so you do get a little bit of time. You know, perhaps you might be doing that with Jacinta Allen, the new Premier, and what would be your couple of things you would want to say about the amazing work of the Institute? What is it that you would want to spark in her imagination? Or they can have that challenge, the pitch to the Premier. I'm giving you advance notice here. Or, again, thinking of the demographic of this audience, I thought maybe sort of family dinner the first time you're meeting your future in-laws, and they say, oh yes, and what do you do? And you want to have your couple of sentences about how incredible the work is that you are part of at the MCRI, what you might say then. So you've got a little bit of time to think about that, and all of you similarly can think about that, because when we, after this session, go to the drinks, like Catherine's challenge, to talk to someone that you mightn't have met before, really thinking if you've got your little pitch about what you work on and why it's really important. Catherine, I did take that very seriously after the first session this morning, and I went to introduce myself to a group of people and actually realised they were from the next conference. And I thought that was taking it a little too seriously. I quickly went and found some lovely women from the haematology department who told me about their work. So perhaps targeted who it is that you're going to be speaking to. So two quick reflections from me. One, as a director, obviously our main role is to govern the organisation. It's Catherine and the team that actually run the organisation. We're there to help with some checks and balances and to set the guardrails and of course also to test and prod about strategy and priorities and to assist with fundraising and other things. But I think today I've just really been blown away by the sheer magnitude of what you're all working on. So thank you for the work that you all do from the board. But I think also one of the things that struck me, I must admit, I've been worried when I read the board papers just how ambitious the work is of MCRI, and Catherine will know that I've asked a few times, you know, can we really do all of that, and can we really be good at all of that? And I think I was probably bringing a bit of a bias that a lot of institutes are specialists in one quite specific area. And when our specialty is children, then that's going to cover a much broader range. And to just see how amazing the work is in all those different areas, whether it's global, whether it's local, whether it's population health, whether it's very deep research in your stem cell or genomics area, or whether it's the application in policy settings. Children were very clearly that common theme, and I think we can find ways to explain that to outsiders even better so they understand why investing this time and energy and thought can make so much difference to people's lives, and doing it for children means their life trajectory is fundamentally changed. So I think that was a really great takeout for me as a director. My reflection, having been a health minister and been at very, very many meetings every single day as a health minister, with researchers coming always to ask for money. That's actually the only thing that researchers come to talk to health ministers about. And that I never once in all my time as the health minister had a whole day to sit and listen to the sort of presentations I did today. In fact, what I would normally have is 4 hours of cabinet, 2 hours of question time, 3 hours of meetings. You know, you guys coming as researchers would come to a 15-minute slot, and really I reflect that a lot of those meetings were not used to maximum value. The researchers sometimes would spend most of the meeting time that was allocated each of them telling me about their PhD in great detail, sometimes arguing over who would speak first. And really by that time, the meeting time was allocated and I'm worried about running late and being on to the next thing. And so the challenge given that is I didn't need to understand what anyone's particular project was for their PhD. I didn't even need to understand why they were really good at their job, because they actually wouldn't have got a meeting to start with otherwise. What I really wanted was for someone to capture my imagination about what they were doing, to understand why it really mattered. Because when you're one of those decision makers, you're not making the decision in that 10 or 15-minute meeting. You're just having your imagination captured in order to then say to someone in your department or in your office or the research team that have come to talk to you, I'd really like more information about that. Can you send me a 3-page summary? So it's again there's a reason that this escalated challenge is given to people. It's not because everything should be able to be simplified. You work in really complex areas. Most of you devote your lives to very deep research. But it's to encourage you to be someone who is bilingual. And I don't mean bilingual in speaking English and Chinese or English and Italian. I mean speaking research and science and speaking layperson or politics or decision makers. The really successful people, and Catherine, you and your team have really worked this out incredibly well. And the challenge is, of course, for all of the other staff and up-and-comers to keep also thinking about that, to be able to explain the purpose in a way that captures people's imagination. And so if I was given that challenge after today to talk to a current health minister, or maybe to my barista, if they said, where do you work or what do you do? Why are you proud of it? Why are you there? I would say I cannot believe the impact MCRI can make on children's lives, excuse me, and that I had no idea that so much of our work has already been influential around the world. And I also had no idea that right from the rarest diseases to the most common diseases, we have amazing researchers trying to solve those problems. So that would be my, after today's, current pitch. And I'm going to ask the team to give us their quick thoughts after today, either the sort of uplift and pitch or challenge to your team, or something that you want to reflect on from today. And we'll just go through. Catherine, I'm going to put you last. So I'm going to start with you, Enzo.
Should have set up the other end.
You know I'm not as scary as that child that was interviewing you who was...
It is true. We'll see how much my eyes dart around this.
I did tell the panel that I do remember the cunning work of using young people to be able to raise issues, because it just cuts through. I mean, it's what you're all here for, but it does cut through the language. And I do remember, I think it was the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation being very successful in their campaign and sitting a very cute child in the front row of every community cabinet. And then Prime Minister Rudd used to always say, oh, yes, would you like to ask a question? Fantastic to have a little 8-year-old here. And they always ask the most punchy, most demanding, cheekiest question possible. So very effective. So I promise I'm easy, Enzo. What would you like to say in your couple of minutes?
So I think, if I'm reflecting on what we've seen today across the Institute and just sort of the incredible breadth of research across all of the themes, one of the things that I was reminded of was a quote by Sidney Brenner, who was a Nobel laureate, and he was the sort of father of C. elegans, a model organism that was used to study genetics and development, a worm. And he commented around the time of the sequencing of the Human Genome Project that we were becoming the model organism. And if I look across the breadth of what we're doing at MCRI, from the genomics research, how we're using stem cells, our cohort studies, the work in infection immunity, particularly human challenge trials, for example, clinical sciences, humans have become the model organism, and we're sort of in the midst of one big human experiment. I think that's really incredibly exciting if we think about the future and how these technologies are coming together. And I think at the intersection of those technologies, and we should be thinking at the intersection of the themes and the work that we do at MCRI, I think that's a really exciting space that we need to be developing further.
Thanks, Enzo. You know that there's going to be one of the researchers in the audience here who in 20 years' time is going to be saying, I remember when I was here and someone was saying, wouldn't it be crazy that we can do X? And actually the work you're all doing now will have moved 20 years on, and that X will be there. And so to look forward, but to know that there's people in this room and on this stage who will move it forward is very exciting. Sharon, what's your challenge or insight?
I feel like it's academic. I'll take the politician escalator pitch, please.
Okay. Okay. Not quite as young as Jacinta, but I will pretend that I am.
So I'm going to keep going with the quotes. And there's a quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes, who was one of the Supreme Court judges, and says, I wouldn't give a fig for simplicity this side of complexity, but I would give my life for simplicity on the other side of complexity. And I'd just like to put forward that the onus on us, if we're going to address the issues into intergenerational report, which essentially says we will overwhelm our healthcare system within the next 50 years, that the time to start the differences for children is now, and that we need to sit in that complexity and consider what the needs of children are. And Minister, we've developed Gen V, and because I thought Catherine would kill me if I didn't mention Gen V. And we think Gen V will be the solution for working out the complex answers to the complex problems for children now and into the future.
That sounds very interesting, Sharon. Could you get your team to send the department just a short summary of what you need? Okay, John, the challenge is for you.
So I'm going to take the elder doddery statesman approach.
Oops, your time's up.
I've been working in the field of genetics for over 30 years, and I have to say this last 10 years has been the most exciting time in my career for me, for several reasons. One is the technology that we've been able to get access to has really transformed our ability to do research and then to deliver it. Secondly, we have such an amazing, enthusiastic and smart bunch of people at the Institute, which really makes the whole exercise of doing research at MCRI so much fun. And I think that the third thing that I would say is, and this has been something that I've learnt along the way, is this is a partnership. And one of the partners who's been a lesser partner for a long time has been the patient and the family. And I think we're learning how to better engage and actively listen to what the families need and want, and then take that into consideration when we're planning our research activities.
Thank you. That's really important, and I think that must have struck all of you in the presentations, the framing with the patient, the children doing the interviewing, the reason that you get up and come to work at MCRI every day, but really building that into your work, I think, was very impressive. And health systems and researchers have not always been strong at putting the patient at the centre. So I think that's incredible. Vicky, which option are you? I feel like I'm doing a game show host now. Which option would you like to take?
I'm not taking the elevator pitch. I'm always too talkative for that. And I think a lot of the things that I feel have been said, but I think I'd like to really emphasise the future opportunities for early intervention and detection of disease that we've heard about today across all of the talks that we've heard, and then obviously Gen V, the opportunity to put those into practice. But you know, the capacity that we have developed for working in teams, for sharing knowledge and skill sets, to be able to really get, not just to understand the mechanisms of illness, but to be able to then identify them, treat them, and actually make a difference into the future. I think that to me is just inspiring, and that's what gets me out of bed and coming to work with a smile on my face every day.
Thank you. Thanks very much for that. And I think that challenge about working across teams, and you know, we're kind of making a little bit of a joke about what you might say to people outside the organisation, but even what you say to people that are not in your teams within the organisation, and the opportunities and ideas that might spark, and the collaborations, I think is a really great part of that. Andrew, you've got a global platform. I mean, how wide or narrow do you go?
I'm taking the lucky dip.
Okay.
Oh, it's Minister Wong. Oh, amazing. So lucky.
So you're actually got in a security queue in that case at an airport rather than anywhere local.
And we've got 5 minutes together. And I'd say to Minister Wong that MCRI is located in Melbourne. It has broad reach across Australia, but has these relationships with Pacific Island countries and Asian countries, which go back, in some cases, 4 decades. And we are a trusted partner in researching diseases that affect children in particular, so the future of the region, and working with those countries to discuss ideas and develop solutions. And one example is the development of the rotavirus vaccine, which is, you know, perfectly made for Indonesia as a halal vaccine. But we're also thinking not just about discovery, and we have this opportunity at the Institute to do all this amazing discovery across the different themes, but how we actually get vaccines into kids' arms. So how do we get children who've had no vaccines a vaccine? So right from the discovery through to policy. So why is that important? Well, I think it's, you know, we are lucky Australians at an amazing research institute, and it's the right thing to do. It's what we have a responsibility to contribute to the health and well-being of the region, particularly the children who are the future of the region. And then also, Minister Wong, you know, that Australian influence in the region is actually really important as soft diplomacy as well. So that's what I'd say to Minister Wong.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully somebody left their wallet in and set off the alarm. You've got another 5 minutes and you can, you know, keep chatting. So, look, before I go to Catherine, one of the things that I also think it's worth sharing, and everyone's touched on this in some way, is also the amazing power that MCRI has from doing that research right from the very beginning and the most technical and benchtop research through to applying it in the hospital with your clinicians and out in the community, whether that's a local Victorian community, nationally or globally. And I think that breadth is also quite unusual and unique for research institutes. And I do think it's worth remembering that decision makers and funders, particularly governments, but I think philanthropists too, worry about the ever new invention that costs more money if the known research doesn't get applied. So I think this balance that MCRI has of both applying known things and always searching for new ones and being able to do both or do them together is also really interesting and places you, I think, in this different position to many others. So I'm going to hand over to Catherine. One of the things, Catherine, I'm going to give you a challenge on because you're very expert at this pitch. So we're going to have to think of something a bit harder to ask Catherine. I was at something, and I don't think it was an MCRI board meeting. We were talking actually about the new data landscape, but I think that the same applies in the new world of research, that the problems of the future are not whether we have enough data. We're going to actually have oceans of data. It's how are we going to use that data to find the islands of insight. So breadth and, application and focus. How do you want us all to be thinking when we come out of the session inspired to think about how we deal with all that information, but also how we want to use it in a focused way?
I'll be a politician and circle around, and I will come to your question, but I would...
So what you really have to do then is say, with the greatest of respect,
Nicola,
which usually means with really no respect, with the greatest of respect, then you can just answer whatever you like. Yeah.
What's really struck me, what strikes me whenever I go and talk to politicians is the best way to be on the front foot is to, one, identify a problem that they would like solved, to talk to them about a potential solution, and to demonstrate that that solution will likely save the system money. And if you can bring all of that together, you have their attention very quickly. And so to answer, and I can come back and expand a bit, but to answer your question then, I think this is a way, very pragmatically, we should be thinking about all the research that we do. We are really focused on our purpose of all children living a healthy and fulfilled life. And there are many challenges and health challenges for the future that we've talked about and we've identified. But what it is, if we are an impact organisation that's powered by research, and actually today I was just stunned as I saw the impact that we're making. It's no lame claim that our research is influencing millions of lives every year. I mean, we could have totted up the numbers today very, very easily to reach that. But as we're thinking around all the different areas that we're doing, just that lens, how is it going to make a difference? How is it going to solve a problem that is meaningful? And different problems are meaningful in different ways. Like obesity is different to heart failure or renal failure or concussion, and it's framing it differently. But I think we have to look at health economics in its broad sense, in terms of its clinical utility, of it making a difference in terms of health outcomes, but also the fact that it's cost effective. And so we do really think about, across Gen V, across genomics, across vaccination, across concussion, we're really thinking about prevention and early intervention as, the way that we want to go. And you really need to think in a broader economic sense of how taking that big picture view is eventually going to lead to healthier people and healthier adults that our children will become, but that it's making that investment in wellness as an endpoint rather than sickness.
Pretty persuasive, aren't they? This is an incredible organisation, which I hope everyone in this auditorium feels very proud to be connected with. And I think for those of you that might feel that some of this is too big picture and that you're in an area that requires really detailed application and focus, I think it's a great privilege that you've got people that can have that application and focus, and I think you need it in different areas, but also being prepared to just kind of keep your eyes above the horizon a bit so you know where that bit of research is fitting in with the big picture that other people in the Institute are working on, is going to make the difference of really how you can have that impact dialed up to the next level. So I think actually we're pretty much, we've got 5 more minutes. I mean, that never happens. So we could open
Enzo
it up.
Can sing.
Sorry?
Enzo can sing.
Sharon can dance.
I think that because we know that we're standing between you and the drinks event, and that's an opportunity for you to practice your little pitch to people that you don't know, you may find that the pitch changes by the time you've had one drink. I am a previous health minister, so please drink in moderation. I think that we might wind it up here. Again, thank you from someone who sits on the board. Thank you from the board's perspective for the amazing work that you do each and every day. I hope you have come away from all of the presentation today even more proud of the very purposeful organisation that you work for, and with an incredible group of leaders. So perhaps if we give them a round of applause for the work that they do. And we'll hand over to Catherine to wind it up.